Well, it looks like the water has removed the pipe here. I don't know if it's too heavy to come in. Oh, the sun is more visible now. Finally, it's kind of late. We were predicted to have a lot of rain already since 5 o'clock, but now it's adjusted to 10 o'clock and just for about 2 hours, so that's, who knows if it will rain. So it's a windy morning. The mountains in Lebanon are very clear. Well, actually, this side of them is Israel and the other side is Lebanon. And then today both readings talk about Syria. And you can see here, as the boundaries stand presently today, that little piece that's sticking up in the, let me see if I get this steady, there. In the very center of the screen you can see a piece sticking up, that's Syria. That's inside the present day border of Syria. And then we're closer to Damascus, which is also mentioned in the readings today, than we are right now to Jerusalem. Farmers from here used to sell produce in Damascus and in Beirut when peoples can live in peace. I was surprised today to see the official figures for the water level. It says it went up 18 centimeters, and so it's at 41, so it's about 59 centimeters below the top level. But I thought it was almost at that last week. So I'm not sure. There's some nice light coming in here through the cloud. And today there are lots of clouds in the hearts of the people, both in Nazareth and in Damascus. In the time of Elisha the prophet, the king of Aram, which is really the Arameans, which is Syria in biblical language. They had their conflicts and their raids, and they had taken people prisoner, and there's a little girl, and she was assigned to the general's wife as her servant. And the general had leprosy. He was very esteemed person in the kingdom because he was an effective conqueror. And then the little girl said to his wife, you know, my master could get cured if he went back to my people, because Elisha the prophet can cure him. He's a prophet, he's a man of God. So she tells that to the wife. And obviously the wife was successful in convincing her husband that this was a good idea. Imagine the poor wife married to a leper, even though he was famous, even though he had lots of power. To be married to a leper, that was a very sad situation. So she was able to prevail on him, and he went to the king and he said, I want to go over there to see if they'll cure me. Imagine doing that after having conquered. After having major conflict. And the king lets him go with lots of gifts. And here we see the human reasoning vis-a-vis faith. The little girl knows that he can be cured. His wife trusts her, but they want to buy it with money. How many times we want to make things happen just with our power, with our ability. And the whole dynamic of faith is to trust. To trust in God. We have that famous line that God lifts up the lowly and takes the proud down from their seat, from their thrones. And then when he comes, the king of Israel says, no, you're just looking for war. I don't want to deal with you. Go away, you're trying to create a problem here. But the prophet sends word to the king and says, let them come to me and they'll see that there's a real prophet. You don't pay any attention to me, but an outsider can come and receive healing. And Elisha didn't want his gold or his property, his possessions, because the grace of God is free. The grace of God is given without cost. It's God's gift. I never saw water up this far along this stretch here, but all the vegetation is being washed away now. This is the fourth winter. I wonder if it's safe to go out here. Do you want to get a rocky experience, people? Let's try a little bit. I hope you don't fall in. then we have the ending of the story with the servants prevailing on him to bathe in the Jordan River because Naaman didn't like the instructions of the prophet. We don't impress God with our might. We impress God with our trust. This used to be all grown completely thick. You couldn't see across to the road down there with vegetation from here a few years ago, and now it's all gone with the high water. And then up here little by little as well. And the cormorants are here perched on the branches. And then the story comes back again with Jesus. And he refers to this event as déjà vu. We already have stories of resistance to God's action. We're all tested in faith, sometimes more powerfully than others. The sun should be out shortly. And faith is a gift. It's a supernatural gift. We can't make faith. Faith is a participation in the life of God, in the understanding of God, in the vision of God, in God's viewpoint, in God's way of seeing things. That's really what faith is. And that's a gift from God. We need that gift. And we can pray for that gift. And I think God will listen to this prayer. Maybe our faith isn't strong. Maybe it's very rationalistic. We need to reason everything. Maybe we're not ready to put our trust in God. And we can say, Lord, I want to learn to believe. Teach me faith. Give me an injection of faith, a download of faith. The last couple of days I wanted to mention, I didn't even mention on the Feast of St. Joseph. There's a beautiful text there about Joseph. He was an incredible man of faith. You know, and he has a very, let's say, discreet profile in the gospel accounts. But what a man of faith. And without him, just like without that little girl in Syria, that miracle wouldn't have happened. It doesn't matter who we are. It really doesn't. Even the most insignificant people can play a huge role in history. And that's also faith, because maybe we're not the president of a country, we can't go out and make a statement that stops wars, but maybe we can stop wars because of our faith. How many people of very little recognition have been the major architects of peace? So let us live our lives as a great offering to God. Let us grow in faith. Let us ask for that gift to do our part. And now the sun is out for you. The sun of faith lighting up the world with God's understanding of reality.